Hey everyone, welcome back to our scenes. So, in today's video, we will be talking about our environment chapter from part 1 book. So, under this chapter, we are going to go through the following topics: ecosystem, components of ecosystem as well as their types, then comes food chains, food webs, then comes flow of energy in ecosystem, how energy is moving from one level to another. We are going to see that. Then comes activities affecting the environment such as ozone layer. We'll be talking about ozone layer in detail regarding its depletion as well. And then lastly, garbage management. Let's talk about ecosystem first. So what is an ecosystem? Ecosystem is actually a well-defined area where interaction between living and non-living components occur. So if I have to explain it with an example, I'll take the example of pond. As you can see here in the picture, this is actually a picture of a pond. We can see the plant and animal life. Okay, varieties of animals and plants, both aquatic and terrestrial, as well as amphibians are present. Other than that, we have got non-living components. So what are the non-living components that we are talking about over here? Those are the soils, the gravel particles at the bottom. Then we have also got temperature, humidity, pH level of the water, etc., etc. So all this together will account for ecosystem. Now let's see what are the components of ecosystem, or what are the parts of ecosystem. What is our ecosystem made of? Our ecosystem is made up of two types of components, biotic and abiotic. So biotic refers to the living components. The word bio itself refers to living. So biotic components will have all the living organisms, both plants and animals, whereas abiotic components will have all the non-living part. So what are the non-living parts we are talking about? We are talking about soil, we are talking about minerals, wind, rainfall, temperature, pH, humidity. All such stuff will be covered under abiotic components. Both these components are equally important. Both actually together make the ecosystem possible. So, as we have seen what are the components, biotic and abiotic. So, biotic components, since those are the living organisms, as we know, here we further have so much of divisions. We are going to see them one by one. So, biotic components can be divided under three headings: producer, consumer, and the decomposers. As you can see, the black colored ones. Okay, so producers are all the green plants. Whatever you can see in green, whatever plant you can see, all those comes under producers. So by the word producer, we mean the ones who produce the food. Since we know plants are responsible for all the glucose production through photosynthesis, so all the green plants come under the category of producers. Next comes consumer. Consumers are the ones which depend upon the food produced by the producers. So, consumers will have all the animals here. Now, again, depending upon the type of diet of the consumer, they are further divided into herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, and lastly, parasite. So herbivores are the ones which depend upon only the green plants for their food. They are either grass eaters or leaves, okay, like for example goat, deer and all. Carnivores are the ones which depend upon the flesh of the animals. They feed on animals for their food. So the animals which they prefer are most probably the herbivore animals. Hence, indirectly, they are getting the food produced by the producers. So, examples are lion, tiger, cheetah, or whatever carnivores you prefer to enroll there. Whereas omnivore, the third one, these organisms have a diet which consists of both direct green plants as well as direct animals. Okay, it's like they are herbivores as well as carnivores. They depend upon both the type of diets, hence we call them as omnivores. And the best example for omnivores is human being, since we depend on both the products of plants as well as animals for our food. Lastly, parasites are the ones which live on other organisms and take food through them. So the best examples here are roundworms, lice. Okay, so just to mention a few. Since these organisms, they live on other organisms. Let us take a simple example of parasite, that is roundworm. Roundworm lives inside the intestine of a human most of the time, and inside the intestine they just stick there. Inside your intestine they take the digested food, whatever the digestion has occurred through our digestive system, they directly take the food. They don't need to digest it or anything, they are just getting everything readily, they are getting a place for shelter. Okay, and in turn they are causing harm to us, they are not doing anything in return to us. Hence such kind of organisms are called as parasites. The third category, that is decomposers, they are saprophytic organisms. Saprophytic organisms are the ones which depend upon dead and decaying matter. Parasites and saprophytes are different. Okay, parasites live on a living organism, whereas decomposers, that is a saprophytic organism, they depend, wherever something is dying or decaying, they grow there, they feed there. So saprophytic organisms mostly are bacteria and fungi specifically. Okay, and they are natural scavengers. They help in getting rid of the dead and decaying, dead organisms, whatever they are present. They help in decomposing them and converting them into simple molecules which readily mixes with soil and makes it fertile. Next, let's talk about types of ecosystem. So, in short, there are two types of ecosystem, natural and artificial. As the name suggests, naturals are the ones which are naturally present, like for example forests, ponds, lakes, etc., etc. Whereas artificial ones are the ones which are man-made. For example, aquarium, garden, crop field. So all these are created by a man, hence we call them as artificial ecosystem. Now let's talk about food chain. As we have seen before, what is an ecosystem? So obviously in an ecosystem a food chain occur. Somebody is eating somebody and the same somebody is being eaten by somebody. So let's go and just see the chain. So food chain, if I have to define it, it is a series of organisms in which one organism eats another organism as food. So we have got a simple example over here for a food chain. Grass is eaten by deer. In turn, deer is eaten by a lion. As you can see here in the picture, grass is being eaten by the deer and the deer is being eaten by the lion. So this is one food chain. This is one way happening where the energy is being transferred from one form to another. As you can see, the green plant is the producer, deer is the consumer, that is herbivore, and this herbivore is eaten by a carnivore. Similarly comes food webs. So large number of food chains, when they are interconnected, we call it as a food web. So you can see here in the picture, so many food chains are present. Okay, so let's start with corn over here. Corn is eaten by grasshopper. See here now, grasshopper can be eaten by frog as well as by a rat. Okay, if I just select frog for now, then this food chain has to be this one. This frog has to be eaten by eagle. Okay, so this will be one food chain. This same food chain is connected this way. Then again here, this frog is connected by many food chains over here. If you can see here, okay, they are connected by many food chains. So this is an interconnected link where so many food chains are connected to one another. Such type food chain actually exists in an ecosystem. So we don't call it as a food chain in such cases. We call this interconnection as food webs. Now, the important part. Let's talk about flow of energy in an ecosystem. How does energy flow in an ecosystem? So, see here, energy flow in an ecosystem is unidirectional. That means it moves in one direction only. There is no reverse. Okay, it's just moving in one direction. If grass is eaten by deer and deer is eaten by lion, it cannot go backwards. Like deer cannot eat lion, or grass cannot be eaten by a deer. So there is no reverse food chain, but only one directional food chain. Green plants capture only 1% of sunlight to convert into food energy. So whatever food we get through plants, it is created with the help of only 1% of energy, whatever is falling on the earth's crust. Okay, so only that much amount of energy is used by the plants. So you can imagine how much of energy we are actually getting from the sunlight. Next, only 10% of energy is transferred to the next trophic level. The remaining 90% energy is used for the life processes. This is called 10% law. This is a very important law over here, 10% law. Here, as you can see on the screen, what happens is, when energy travels from first trophic level to another trophic level. Imagine the first trophic level here, which is a producer. Whatever energy it is having, only 10% of it is going to the consumer level, that is to the trophic level 2. Further, from this 10% energy, 10% of that 10%, so that has to be only 1%. So only 1% will be moving forth for the next one. Again further, as it is moving, so 90% of the amount whatever it is getting is lost, and only 10% is moving forth. So as it is rising up and up the trophic level, the energy which is being supplied is going on decreasing and decreasing, and that is the main reason why we hardly have 3 to 4 trophic levels. There is no 5th trophic level. This is because of the absence of energy. So what happens to this 90% of energy which is not moving forth? This is used by the organism, okay, for their day-to-day activities and all, whatever energy they need. This energy is happening in that 90%. This energy is consumed in that 90%. So only 10% will be transferred to the next trophic level. Next, let's talk about biological magnification. This is something which is opposite of what we have studied right now, that is 10% law and all. What we have studied is, as you go up and up the trophic level, the energy will go on reducing. But in case of biological magnification, it is the opposite. As you go on rising above the next level, it goes on increasing, the amount will go on increasing. But what we are actually talking about over here, we are talking about chemicals. Concentration of harmful chemicals increases with every next trophic level in a food chain. So as if at all somehow in a food chain this harmful chemicals enter, in that case what happens is, as it is moving from one level to another level, its amount is increasing instead of decreasing like in all the other cases. In this case, they go on increasing. So by the time they reach the last trophic level, its amount is very, very high. So that is why we term it as biological magnification. It's actually increasing in number. Next, maximum concentration of such chemicals gets accumulated in the last trophic level of the food chain. So as said before, in the last food chain, that is the last trophic level where your decomposers or the high degree carnivore is present, that is where exactly your highest level of chemicals will be present. So this together is known as biological magnification. Hence we must try to avoid chemicals in our food, though it's impossible in the present scenario. Next, let's talk about the activities which are affecting our environment. So there are so many human activities that is actually causing a negative effect on our environment. So to mention a few, deforestation, use of CFC gases. CFC stands for chlorofluorocarbons, which are present in all the cooling appliances whatever we have, that is refrigerators, air conditioners and all. So whatever present refrigerators we have, they are actually CFC free, but regarding air conditioners we still might have, depending upon the specific ones which we are using. And then next, burning of fossil fuels, etc. So all this together, though they are providing us all the luxury, they are causing undesirable changes. This is what is important. They are not causing desirable changes, but undesirable changes. That means it is not supposed to happen. It should not be happening. It's not good, but still it is happening. So we are talking about such changes which is not at all good for us, which is not at all good for our earth. So such changes are happening, causing pollution, ozone layer depletion, etc., etc. So among this effects, we are going to deal with only ozone depletion. So we are going to see that. So before seeing ozone depletion, let us understand what is an ozone layer. Ozone layer is actually a kind of a protective gaseous blanket. It's not a simple blanket, but a gaseous blanket which is surrounding our earth. And so this blanket, what is the job of this blanket? See here, sunlight comes, we get sunlight from the sun, right? So as the sunlight is coming to us, before it reaches us, it passes through this gaseous blanket of ozone layer. So what is actually happening now? Sunlight does not contain all the good radiations. There are certain radiations, specifically the short ultraviolet radiations, UV radiations, which is not at all good for the living organisms or living components on this earth. They can cause mutation, they can cause changes in the pH level, changes in the genes, which can destroy life on this earth, which can cause undesirable changes in our genes, which will result in a very prolonged defect, something kind of diseases which will be carried on genetically and hereditary way. So we don't want that. Hence this ozone layer will protect us from such ultraviolet radiations. So now this harmful ultraviolet radiations, as said before, they can cause skin cancers, cataract, wilting of plants, etc., etc. You cannot just mention few here. We have got a lot of defects which might be happening due to this harmful ultraviolet radiation, which is being filtered by one and only the ozone layer. Okay, so now this ozone layer is actually made up of molecules, ozone molecules. So ozone molecule is nothing but, it is made up of 3 nascent oxygens. So when I say nascent oxygen, I mean free oxygen atom. So 3 oxygen atoms combine together to give you one ozone molecule. And this ozone layer is present in the stratosphere level. Okay, it's quite above our natural, that is it's very much above the ground level. Okay, so hence it's out of the reach of the plant and animal life. Now one thing what we need to know about ozone is, ozone is a very protective substance for us only when it is in the stratosphere region. Somehow, if ozone is present in the level where plants and animals exist, it can be poisonous to us. So we need not breathe in it. Okay, so hence we need ozone, but only in the stratosphere region and not in the region where we have life existing. Now let's see how does the ozone molecule form. So what happens here is high energy ultraviolet radiations, they break the gaseous oxygen. The oxygen which we breathe is made up of two oxygen atoms, as you can see here on the screen. So this oxygen atom, whatever we breathe, the gaseous oxygen, because of high energy ultraviolet radiation, is broken into two oxygen atoms, that is nascent oxygens will be getting through this. Now this nascent oxygen, one of these, will combine with another oxygen gaseous molecule. As you can see here, this is the oxygen which we breathe. This is combining with a nascent oxygen which we have got from the splitting of a gaseous oxygen, and together they combine to give you ozone. So this is how ozone is formed. Now let's talk about the ozone layer depletion. How does it deplete, or what is actually happening here? What is the depletion we are talking about? So ozone depletion here refers to the thinning of the ozone layer. Whatever thick blanket, gaseous blanket we have around our earth, day by day it is getting thinner and thinner, and at present we have also got holes through it. That means there are certain parts above the earth where you don't have ozone molecules at all. So we are talking about those absence of molecules, those regions, we call it as ozone holes. So this is ozone depletion. Now because of the decrease in the thickness of ozone layer by excessive use of chlorofluorocarbons, etc., what happens is we are much more subjective to the ultraviolet radiation, the harmful ultraviolet radiation, not the common ultraviolet radiation, and hence more and more genetic mutation is being seen, more and more defects are being seen, and day by day it can cause harmful effect on all the living forms existing on this earth. So now this chlorofluorocarbon, the first thing what we need to note down over here is we are not supposed to use chlorofluorocarbons. So where do we use it? As I said, the present refrigerators don't have chlorofluorocarbons. Air conditioners also, they are also very much eco-friendly now. We have got aerosols. Aerosols are the room fresheners and all. We need to stop using them, or if at all if we are using them, we need to check whether they have chlorofluorocarbons in their contents. Most of the room fresheners, they have chlorofluorocarbons in them. So this is exactly where we get our chlorofluorocarbons from. Hence we need to reduce it to preserve our ozone layer. Now let's talk about garbage management. So with modernization and urbanization, as our lifestyle is improving, along with that our garbage is also increasing day by day. It's because of all the use and throw stuff that we get easily. Okay, but anyhow at the end of the day our garbage is increasing at an alarming rate. So what can we do to reduce this garbage? Okay, so first thing what we are going to do is we are going to separate them. We are going to divide our waste into two categories, that is biodegradable and non-biodegradable. As said, biodegradable here refers to the waste which can be decomposed by our living organism, that is bacteria, fungi and all. So by the action of such microorganisms, this waste can be completely decomposed. So such waste, they come under biodegradable waste. So all the fruit and vegetable waste, whatever we get, papers, etc., they all come under the category of biodegradable waste. Now coming to the next one, the opposite one, that is non-biodegradable waste. So non-biodegradable waste here refers to the substances which cannot be decomposed by the action of microorganisms. That means microorganisms cannot destroy them. So such waste are what we are supposed to worry about. Biodegradable waste, anyhow they are going to decompose, but non-biodegradable waste, they are not going to decompose. So we need to find a solution for them. So let's see what are the examples over here. Plastic, synthetic fibers like nylon, polyester, etc. We have got so many to mention, polythene. Okay, so all these they come under non-biodegradable waste. So this is where we are supposed to actually keep our eyes open. So what can you do for your waste disposal? How can you maintain them, or how can you manage them? The first thing what we need to remember is reducing. As I said, non-biodegradable waste is our first concern. So hence we need to try our best to reduce our non-biodegradable waste as far as possible. Avoid using use and throw stuff, avoid using your ready to made snacks and all where you get lots of waste, plastic papers, cups, everything. So try to avoid it. Other than that, we can use stuff such as recycling. Okay, recycling and reusing, especially for the non-biodegradable waste. Okay, I'm talking about the last two ones here. So recycling and reusing will help you to reduce your non-biodegradable waste till a very far extent. You can reduce those stuff, whatever you have, you can reuse it again and again till they are not in the condition to be used. You can then go for recycling. Now, talking about the biodegradable waste, most of the time if we have much more biodegradable waste, it's not easy to wait till it decomposes. Why not get some benefit through them just by not by just simply using it for decomposing? So there are some methods here, that is biogas plant. So biogas plant, we are going to see in detail about it in the chapter sources of energy. So we'll be talking about that in detail over there. Then sewage treatment plant. So this is where all the sewage or whatever waste, drainage, water we get, we are actually subjecting it to this plant where all the waste is being collected, all the decaying matter is separated and purified. Next, composting. This is a very initiative method where you can just store all your biodegradable waste along with soil, forget it for a few days, and then they become a very good fertilizer for your plants. So you'll be using something which is waste and getting benefit out of it. So that is for your biodegradable waste. So that's about your chapter. Okay, here your chapter ends. If you have got any doubt, just leave a comment at the bottom and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching.